Atmosphere. It's a word you'll hear used to describe countless games, from Dark Souls to Bioshock, Eleanor to Rainworld. These games all get described as atmospheric by plenty of people, while not really having too much in common. It's a word that gets thrown around by players and reviewers from across the medium, but the why is never really explained. It's usually just stated the game has good atmosphere and it's left at that. As a player, I know these games have good atmosphere. I've felt it, I've played it, but I don't know how to describe it. As a developer, I want to get to the bottom of why I feel that way. And I think the perfect game to help me figure that out is Hollow Knight. You feel it, right? The atmosphere? Hollow Knight is the first game I think of when I think of atmosphere in video games. Almost every review of the game I've seen praises its atmosphere for making you feel lonely and small, without ever really delving into why it makes you feel that way. From a player's perspective, I totally get what they mean, but from a developer's perspective, I want to know what Team Cherry did to achieve the atmosphere they did in Hollow Knight. Ultimately, I think the atmosphere of Hollow Knight comes from the sum of its collective parts. To its lonely sound design, to its eldritch lore, with a simple gameplay implication of being a small bug in such a massive, uncharted world, Hollow Knight's atmosphere is woven into every inch of the game. Hollow Knight's sound design is the first core part that makes up its atmosphere, and arguably the most important, being used to set the tone of most scenes in the game. A good example of Hollow Knight's soundtrack creating its atmosphere is in this first scene. Obviously in this scene, the music sets a gigantic part of the atmosphere up. I mean, imagine if another song played. The atmosphere of the scene would be completely shattered. Hollow Knight's music is essential to its atmosphere. But why? One of the reasons the game's soundtrack promotes the game's atmosphere so well is that it avoids constant background music. Many areas only introduce the melody after a short period of time, allowing for long periods of silence. These periods of silence create a feeling of isolation rather than comfort. For example, Greenpath's theme. And when the melody does appear, it tends to be slow and soft and built around minor keys, musically associated with sadness and loss, reinforcing emotional emptiness rather than triumph. The game also conveys its atmosphere through the sound effects themselves. The environment of Hollow Knight is cavernous. Sounds reverberate with echoes in every scene. From the knight's footsteps to the NPCs to even the background music itself. These echoes make the world of Hollow Knight feel vast and lonely. These echoes support the idea that Hallownest is not just physically underground, but emotionally abandoned, amplifying the solitude through acoustics. The atmosphere of being isolated and helpless can even be found in the sound effects of the main character. The knight's movements consist of small, light footsteps, tiny, floaty jumps, and a small nail strike that isn't booming or heroic like a normal video game protagonist. These deliberately modest sound effects make the main character feel small and helpless in this large world. Making the knight feel weak takes the player out of their comfort zone, as they expect the main character to be strong and powerful like most other video games. This, on top of the rest of the game's sound design, all come together to make a major part of the game's atmosphere. But sound isn't the only way Hollow Knight builds its atmosphere. World building in video games often affects how players think of the setting they're in. Hollow Knight's world building emphasizes a golden era that you missed, that's now in complete ruins. Signs of this past golden era throughout the world are often found through environmental storytelling. Unlike other games who might deliver lore info through NPCs, Hollow Knight chooses to do it through the environment. The environmental storytelling emphasizes the loneliness of the game, making you piece together the lore on your own, rather than a friendly NPC who might exposit to you. Many NPCs you may meet who do exposit about this era have short looping conversations that give a sense of distortion rather than true companionship. Speaking of NPCs, you'll find many throughout Hollow Knight, but most of them only have transactional relationships with the main character. And even then, some of the shopkeepers are out to get you. Interactions with NPCs in the game feel like brief intersections and separate journeys, not shared paths. Even the enemies of the game are dead-looking with no real conscious thought. This leads to the player not really forming any connections with other characters, or the ones they care about getting killed off, further supporting the lonely atmosphere the game is so known for. Overall, the world building plays into the dead, lonely atmosphere of the setting, telling you of a bygone era too late to participate in, while now in a world full of husks and travelers who don't stay around for long. Finally, the last core pillar of the game, the gameplay itself. The feeling of isolation is even embedded within the mechanics of the game itself, through its combat and its world design. The simplistic controls lead you to focus more on the enemy than you do on yourself, as the enemy attack pattern usually determines the flow of combat. This leads to a dissociation and a further feeling of isolation as you fight in combat, focusing solely on the enemy. The game's challenge also supports the feeling of helplessness. Being on low health, far away from any save point, really makes you feel like another helpless bug in the kingdom of Hallownest. But more challenging than even the normal enemies are the bosses. The one-on-one boss fights this game is mostly made up of have you focus solely on your opponent and rely solely on your skill. This leads victories to feel more personal rather than communal, since NPCs rarely help you out indirectly or directly. Besides just the combat, the Metroidvania style of exploration provides much to the atmosphere. Hallownest is intentionally easy to get lost in, lacking clear directional markers. Navigating yourself through this confusing series of hallways provides even more isolation to the atmosphere than it already had, because the player is navigating a world that clearly wasn't built for them. It really feels like you're on your own as you explore the world, without even the developers by your side, since knowledge about the world is gained through wandering, not their instruction. Hollow Knight's gameplay contributes greatly to the overall atmosphere of the game, through the helpless feeling of combat and the uncharted nature of the game's exploration. So, why does Hollow Knight have a good atmosphere? Well, thinking as a developer, to me it means each part of Hollow Knight's whole, its sound design, world building, and gameplay, successfully come together to create a unique, isolated, and small-feeling environment that you can't really find in any other video game. But from the perspective of the player, the game just has good atmosphere. That's all they really need to know.